Bless up, everyone. Bless up, bless up, bless up. Yeah, I'm running a little bit behind my guy, Dave. Yo, Dave with the Popeye, baby. All right, yes, bless up, man. Talk about today's topic. Talk about good man.
I'll call you
right?
tomorrow, bud.
Most step. Bless up to you, bro. Thanks for coming through, man.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
that visit, man. What's up?
Steady.
Yeah, oh, nice. Hey, what's up, everybody? Man, it is Wednesday. It's been a little bit since I've done a live stream and got a rep in on the speaking piece and structuring some things to talk about. And today I have something that came to me during a session that was really that had me reflective. And it was this concept of being a nice guy versus a good man. So what's the reason that this even matters? Well, I think a big piece of this is I was diving into it. So a lot of times when I get on a thought pattern, I'll go into it. I'll explore. I'm an analyzer, so I'll go all in. And when I was thinking about this concept of the nice guy, I started first breaking down the two and breaking down what a nice guy meant for me and like how I showed up as the nice guy, and then also what it meant to be a good man. And this, well, how I saw it and how I was writing about it was like the sacrifices that I've made to be as I go on to be a good man, or as I strive to be a good man. So what I'm going to share today are three of the things that helped me with this transition. And if you are a person that is, that was raised around the concept of happy wife, happy life, if you've had a lot of women that have put you in a friend zone, this would most likely be a really good video for you to watch and check in with, especially if you've had some anger and resentment, or maybe you don't even recognize, maybe you have yet to even recognize that you have that. If you do, hey, maybe not. I think this is a great episode or a great session to really discuss this concept, because I think it's something that unconsciously we're conditioning boys in different circumstances to be, rather than provide the education and the framework for what it means to be a good man. So let's dive in. And as we're going through, I'm gonna highlight what are the three things. I have three things that was really, as I was whittling it down and figuring out what's the best thing I could really share with this topic. I came to three different aspects, three different pillars that supported me on the transition. I think will be helpful, and I'll also label them out here. If you have any questions, put it in. If you're watching on the replay, bless up. Thank you for joining, watching, and tag where you're tuning in from. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Yeah, So listen, so when I was breaking this down, I'm going at this from my perspective, because I'm coming from a place of, I'm a divorced dude. I've been in some relationships. I was married for technically 10 years. Divorced, had some relationships, got mothers of children, a lot of failed relationships. Longest relationship outside of my marriage was 5 years. So listen, I've seen some things and I've experienced some things, and I've gone from this space of uh, thinking that these things are happening to me and starting to look at how they happen for me and how they can help and contribute to my up level. And part of that was recognizing that in each of my failed relationships, I was doing whatever I could to be the nice guy. So what the heck does that mean for me, and how could this resonate for you if you're one of these guys watching this, or what have you? Or maybe you've been in a relationship with a nice guy. I was asking questions of men and women, like, hey, how would you declare a nice guy versus a good man? And I was getting great responses. I'll share them in a little bit. But how I was looking at this was like, the nice guy that I've been is like strives for others, meaning like, I always want to help. I always want to help, be a service. I want to be a service. I'm going to do this, and you can blah blah blah. Services for free, all these things. And I recognize as the nice guy, like that was also a component of people pleasing. So also the oh wait, it's the nice guy who strives for the approval of others. So that was something that I was in. It was like always a game or a face or like a role I was thinking I had to play, whether it was at the job or if I was out with my former wife at a party or thing. It was like some kind of thing or role I thought I had to play to get approval. Uh, One of the things with a nice guy that I recognize too is that I bred resentment and anger, and the reason being was because I failed to truly express myself in what I wanted. So because it's a nice guy technically is most likely a people pleaser. They'll resist conflict, which for a lot of years I resisted conflict. I was like, oh, okay, and I would just let things go and let things slide allegedly, and then I would blow up. Is I would have I would have an amygdala hijack. So people are like, what? Amygdala hijack is basically it's like there's an implosion in the limbic system, and so it's like, oh man, like you gotta fight or flight, you gotta defend yourself. So usually it's like if you're one of these people that's usually passive and you stuff things, then there's gonna come a point in time, or maybe there has already, where all of a sudden you just blow up, like you just like blah, and it's probably over something insignificant, like there was a commercial on YouTube you didn't want to watch, and then you blew up at someone or something. So those things do happen, and a lot of times they happen to the nice guy. Usually the nice guy is one that's like goes off on a pattern, and then probably he's end up like doing some really crazy stuff to like let out his anger and aggression. One of the things I recognized from being a nice guy was the actions of oh yeah, so gets expressed through actions opposite. Oh yeah, so one of the things with a nice guy, it was also being accommodating. I recognized as I would dove into this piece though that me being accommodating was also stemming back to some childhood stuff. Like when my parents got divorced, I was like, I think they got divorced because of me. I can't create any more conflict in my life. So all of a sudden, like I created this ripple in my unconscious belief system that like it's wrong for me to have any kind of conflict because people are gonna leave, they're not gonna do things. So I would always be in this thing of I got to get approval and be the nice guy. Now, this what's interesting is I was diving into this. There was a couple ways that I looked at this being the nice guy. I looked as a man, particularly, was like being the accommodator, not being the aggressor. I have this thought and theory that like more nice guys are usually raised by single mothers. It's a theory. Why is that theory, Paul? I'm glad you asked. Because I think there's this lack of what masculine is. It's almost like by environment, the boy will think like I got to make sure everything is good because there's something that he may sense in the mother, like there's something wrong. Like I got to make sure everything is good, or I don't want to cause any ripple, right? So I'm going to hold and stuff my feelings and whatever the heck I got going on. It's a theory. I don't know. I'll explore it in another video if you need to. Put some questions or maybe like let me know if you want me to explore that further. Now I also looked at being the nice guy as a black man. So whew, this one was deep for me, boy, because when I looked at this, I was like, oh, junk. Like growing up, especially in a predominantly white town, in my hometown, like I was always being the nice guy because I never wanted to be a threat. Because I was like, yo, I know they're already thinking some stuff. So I'm like, hey, my hands are up. My hands are up. I am your friend. Right. So I would have this kind of mindset. And again, I would stuff and I would accommodate, and it ended up really damaging me and really having me lessen my self-confidence because I was going against myself repeatedly. Now once I recognized this, especially as I was in a marriage, I recognized that me being the quote unquote nice guy was really damaging me because I was holding back. I had a lot of masks, like, and usually like now I like a nice tasty drink. Back then it was like the drinks were the way for me to express myself when I was just tired of wearing masks. So I'd go to corporate, bust my ass and work hard, and then I'd go to the bar and get pissy drunk and drive home like an idiot. Well, at the time, I mean, I could say I'm an idiot, but like at the time, I was like, I didn't really care. Like I was just so tired of wearing a mask, and it was heavy. The mask of the nice guy going around and be like, "Hey, happy Wednesday." It was like a toxic positivity for me, because I was telling myself I was positive, but I was really in a dark place because I didn't even know who I was anymore. So that could be a dilemma for the nice guy. And this is something that happens. There's this theory of like, we got to accommodate, you got to accommodate. And there may be some times when you will need to. And my invitation is to look at, what's the reason for this? What's the reason to be so accommodating? Like, what's the benefit to you and what's the impact? Now, this is when I started asking these questions, especially as I was going through this transition after the divorce and recognizing like, oh, junk, like, I have been wearing masks for the majority of my life, that I got to figure out who the heck I am. And what the heck does it mean? Like, I'm tired of this nice guys. That's crap. But what does it mean to be a good man? And like, when I started doing like a good amount of transformation programs and Mankind Project and staff and all that stuff, like in the background in my head, I was just like, yo, I'm just like looking at examples of these models of who are these men. And like, what do I sense is the definition of a good man? So it had me really look at things in a much different way. And I started my overall thing that I came with is that a good man approves of self and holds respect for others. So the approval of self is such a key thing, especially as I'm settling into things, like really like accepting and acknowledging and approving of these different things that I am, that are completely different from everyone else. And how, as a good man, like first of all, what the heck that even means, and then build from there. But like, I'm gonna get ahead of myself, and I'm just gonna go into these three and get this thing done. So here's it is, right? First one, when you're looking at transitioning from the nice guy to the good man, it's gonna require knowledge of self. What? Yes, knowledge of self. What the heck does that even mean? So here's some things that this could mean, or I'm looking at this as a knowledge of your stories, okay? A knowledge of your patterns, acknowledge a knowledge of how you're truly talking to yourself, and a knowledge of your environment. These are the things, like when we have a knowledge of ourselves, we'll recognize that the environment that we place ourselves in, and just who we are and how we show up and the stories we tell ourselves, have defined us, and has usually, in most cases, when we acknowledge this knowledge of self, we're realizing that being the quote unquote nice guy is actually stifling, and it's manipulative too, right? It's like, because this knowledge of self most likely will be, or this nice guy, usually you're there. I was a terrible communicator as a nice guy, because I had yet to know what it would take for me to communicate my wants, my thoughts, my desires, like all these things. Instead, I was just like, I wonder what she wants me to say so I can get some. Hmm? Like, what? Like, look, it was like, it makes no sense. Like, looking back on it, and that's where I was at the time. So knowledge of self is like looking at these stories and really having an understanding of who you are and just what your thoughts are. How do you communicate? Um, what do you want? What do you think? What do you feel? What do you see? Being very clear in your communication and really being able to express and know yourself. And a lot of times, this is also about physical activity, mental activity, emotional regulation, mental, I think I said mind, but mental activity, looking at these things, how they're working for you, and the impact um, and their strengths and your strengths. All right. Second one that we got is respect for self. So when you're making this transition from the nice guy to the good man, it's really respecting yourself, because usually the nice guy has no respect for self, because they give everything to everyone else. The good man is like, look, I got to respect myself. And that means boundaries. Boundaries. Got to have some boundaries. And what are the ways that you communicate the boundaries? And when you respect yourself, you're okay if people in your environment are resistant, or are opposed your point of view, or like how your value. You're like, okay with that. I'm going to stay over here though. That's respect for self. So this is a key piece to making this transition. Now, when we look at the last one is defining your good. And I started talking about this before. When it's going into define your good, it's starting to look at things like, well, what does it mean to be a good man? And And I want to put this disclaimer out here. I'm talking about a good man in a worldly or environmental perspective, not just a good man for a relationship. My thought is, especially looking back on things, if I would have more focus on being a good man for the world, being on purpose, being on mission, being on task, being productive, being protective, then everything else will fall into place. Okay, everything else can fall into place. The thing is, though, is I get to define what that is. So that means, like, as a man, getting on purpose. Like, what do you want to have happen in the world? Who are the people that are supporting you to get there? Like, what does it mean for you to really be a good man in this world? What kind of impact do you want to have? These are the things, like, I really believe that it's important for men to really be on purpose rather than be on the poom poom. Okay, like, yo, just really get on purpose, get on task. Because again, that's a good man rather than a nice guy. A nice guy will manipulate some shit just to get some shit. So, listen, I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking my experience. It's far from saying that's you or anyone watching this video. I'm just speaking from my experience and also from the work that I've done with other men and their experiences. So, blessings, blessings, blessings. I expected to be on here 10 minutes. It's almost 17 minutes. So blessings to the people that checked in. If you're watching this on the replay, tap in on the replay. And if you have some thoughts, I'm curious if you're having thoughts or there is a distinction that you have between a nice guy and a good man, I invite you, put that in the comments. Let's have a conversation about this so we can, again, if people in the ether see this, if Facebook isn't shut down, it's on YouTube too. It's on YouTube. You can take a look at this and really start to let's craft it. Let's start to put some models out there so we can start creating. Each man that watches it can begin creating for themselves like what a good man is, what their definition of that, and then expressing it out to the world. So blessings. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your time. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I damn sure appreciate you. And until the next live stream, I'm still working on a schedule. I'll get there one day. And bless up everybody. Take it easy. Peace.